Alright, what's going on, you guys? It's Royce Jacob, and welcome back to Waves Weekly. It's a video series I post every weekend where we go over some recent news and current events that occurred over the past week that I believe pertain to the markets. We'll also discuss some of the stocks and assets that we've been covering recently on the channel. So, in this case, Moderna, Inovio, and even Bitcoin. So, don't worry, we'll talk about those guys. Then I'll also just let you guys know what I'm thinking going into next week as far as markets overall are concerned. Alright, so as always, if you guys go on to enjoy this content, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a like and subscribed if you're not already, and if you want to catch more content like it. Okay, so yeah, let's kick it off. Per usual, we'll go over each topic that we're going to be talking about briefly in order, and then we'll dive into each one individually. All right, so as I said, as you can see here, this is a chart of Moderna. Moderna had, honestly, I would call it a good week. It ended the week super strong on some great news and some solid price action when the rest of the markets pretty much tanked. Okay, so yeah, Moderna, super bullish on Moderna still. We'll talk about that first. Then we'll get to the Moderna adversary, or Moderna hedge, as I've been calling it. Inovio, so INO, had the exact opposite type of week as Moderna. It had an absolutely tragic week. And I've had some of you guys hitting me up about it, a little worried about Inovio, but I just want to let you know right now that I'm still bullish on Inovio, and for now, I will leave it at that before we get into it, of course. All right, so then we'll get into the SPY, traditional equity markets. We're going to talk about where I think those are going next. If you guys have been tuned into the channel, you would know that I am overall bullish on traditional equity markets. So we'll get into that. We'll get into the small article, the short article. Just briefly touch on this, on why the Dow and SPY and traditional markets did close the week so negative. So we'll get into that. After that, we'll get into to what the good old Oracle of Omaha is doing himself. So Warren Buffett. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to it, all right? But I'm sure you guys can read the headline right there. Not good. Okay, then we will get into Tesla. We'll look at the chart first. Tesla had a very bad end of their week, and the reason for that is because Mr. Elon Musk went on a Twitter rampage. So we'll go ahead and look at some of those tweets and what caused Tesla to crash. Then we'll go into Bitcoin. Bitcoin is on absolute fire right now. It's actually, literally as we speak, it is Saturday afternoon in Hawaii as of recording this. Bitcoin is seeing another leg up. So, you know what? I'll talk about this now. If you guys watched, I think it was I can't remember. I think it was my Inovio video where I said when you see rallies, they usually come in waves of twos. So I wouldn't be surprised if right now we see Bitcoin on its second wave, okay, on its second spike up after this little consolidation that it had after it absolutely killed it this week. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna talk some Bitcoin. That's kind of the last thing. No, it's not. That's the last actual thing we're gonna be talking about. But as far as like charts and technicals are concerned. But then I want to go into a new segment that I'm going to be doing in these videos called my content of the week. Okay, so content of the week. This first piece is a CNBC article with the founder of Barstool Sports. His name's Dave Portnoy. This dude's the fucking man. He's been killing the quarantine social media game. So we'll talk about that. And then it's the second piece of content that I would recommend is this podcast that Lex Friedman had on his podcast called AI with Jack Dorsey. And I'll let you guys know, again, at the end when we do cover this further, why I think this is worth listening to. Okay, so first things first, Moderna. Good old Moderna stock. Moderna's been ripping. So Moderna, again, they ended the week on some super solid news. I didn't have it up right now because I don't really want to dive into it too deeply. If you guys are following the stock, I'm sure you're familiar with the news that came out. They partnered with a large Swedish drug manufacturer to produce, allegedly, that's what they're saying. The deal is for 1 billion vaccines per year. I can't remember the exact name of the manufacturer. Honestly, should have had this article brought up, but you guys can look into it if you want. It was absolutely huge news, and that is what led to Moderna's. As you can see here, it on Friday it popped up pre-market, and then it consolidated, or it fell a little bit because the rest of the market was just looking absolutely tragic. So it was kind of a byproduct of the rest of the market just doing so poorly. But it's funny, I actually drew. So if you guys have been watching my recent videos, you know that I drew this bull flag on Moderna probably like a week ago now. So it's kind of cool to see how this is playing out. Obviously not exactly, and obviously got lucky with the great news that came out, but it would be funny to see if this trajectory plays out. As you guys know, I do see Moderna as a hedge to traditional markets. So when traditional equity markets fall, Moderna acts as somewhat of a hedge to those markets, just because it's almost like a safeguard asset. I've noticed that interestingly about some of these pharmaceutical companies that are working towards like COVID vaccines and whatnot, that when traditional markets are doing poorly, these markets will do well, just because again it's I don't know exactly why that is. I hope you guys can understand why that makes sense though. When people fear some of these other tech stocks and sectors, they will go to the ones that are almost fighting the fear in a sense. That's a good way to think about it. Like these are the fear fighting stocks, and therefore they will do well when the market falls. Okay, at least that's my logic. All right, so Moderna going into next week, I'm very bullish. I actually added to my position yesterday on this dip right here. So I'm glad that I didn't FOMO in up here. I hope none of you guys did. Even if you did, I'm still bullish and adamant on the fact that it will climb significantly higher. Again, this is back to almost the two-wave concept, right? We had this first initial wave. You see some consolidation here. Again, this will happen when you see crazy bull rallies like this a lot of times. Significant spike up. It'll crash down and go sideways for a little bit, and then it'll have another big leg up. Okay, so keep your eye out for that. Moderna also releases their quarterly earnings on May 7th, so I think that's this Thursday. So I'm not going to make any promises on what that's going to do. I would be careful. I would be cautious going into Thursday. If we see the price absolutely take off prior to Thursday, I might recommend, obviously not investment or financial advice, but what I might do myself is maybe take 2/3 to half of my position off the table prior to earnings, just because we really don't. They've been pretty secretive as far as financials are concerned. So again, we never know. But if the stock does take off prior to Thursday, prior to their earnings, I would recommend maybe thinking about reducing your position size a little bit. Okay, so that is what I'm gonna do. Inovio, opposite of Moderna, had a super shitty week. As you can see here, started the week at $16. What was that? Yeah. Started the week around here. This is Monday, so started around here. Spiked up. There was a very bullish rally right here, and then on Friday, I believe it fell nearly 20%. So had a terrible Friday. It did follow the rest of the market again. These stocks, although I do think they're a hedge to the traditional markets, if there is general negative sentiment in the markets, it's not unlikely that these will fall too. Okay, so Inovio did see a bad week. I have to imagine at least that this is also a byproduct of the fact that Moderna released that great news on Friday. So I'm seeing them as competitors, which they obviously are. But there is still potential for two vaccines in the space, two players. As I've said previously in these videos, I'm far more bullish on Moderna. My Moderna position is significantly larger than my Inovio position. But I do feel that it is a safe play to hold both stocks. All right, so Inovio next week. Again, this played out from a technical perspective. You can see this played out somewhat of a head and shoulders pattern. We had the left shoulder here where it spiked up. The head, we had that crazy rally, hype rally, and then it played out this right shoulder right here. Okay, so it's good to see that it bounced off on Friday. This line, this resistance it had prior to this whole rally overall. So it held here, it bounced off here, and again, I'm not thinking about selling any of my Inovio position. I do think next week we will see it continue to climb, because if you look at this, like Inovio is still in a bull market. Like it had this pop, it hasn't. It's held this line of support, this like base trend line over where it was in the past few months. So that's very promising, and I think we will see another leg up personally. Again, not financial or investment advice. That's just what I'm doing and what I'm thinking. Okay, so moving on to SPY. Again, SPY fell with the rest of the market. As you guys know, I am very, very bearish on SPY. I think the current fundamentals and general macroeconomics in the entire world are shitty right now, and I do not think that this bull rally or dead cat bounce is really what it is, in my opinion, is warranted, and I think it is false. I think it's artificially propped up, and I think this is going to lead to the second leg down of this dead cat bounce. where we will at least retest previous lows, but I personally think that we'll probably go even lower than that. I mentioned prior in some previous episodes of Waves Weekly. Let's go to the 5-year here. Let's go to all time. I think that it'll probably come. Let's go right here. Okay, that's a better look at it. Okay, so I think that it'll probably come all the way down here. Again, to this 155 level that we saw in 07 and 2000 in the early tech bubbles and prior to the financial crisis of 2008. 155, it had a double top over here, so it's about a 150. So 150 from 300, just do general math. Those aren't the exact numbers as you can see, but it would be a 50% correction. Historically, that's not at all crazy to see. So I would prepare for the S&P and traditional equity markets to fall a full 50% over the coming months. Again, that's just what I'm thinking. The reality is there's no money. There's no money aside from the Fed printing it and artificially propping it up with the help from all these hedge funds and quantitative traders. So in my opinion, it will fall a full 50% over the coming months, probably by the end of summer, to be honest, prior to making its way back up. All right. So that we'll just go over this real quickly. This is the reason that the Dow closed 600 points lower on Friday, and S&P, all markets did fall because earnings disappointed. If you guys remember last week, I was talking about these big tech earnings. Amazon, Apple, they all announced earnings this past week, and they all disappointed. Even Amazon, who like all these Amazon just recently did this past week prior to earnings reached an all-time high at like $2,300. They're worth like $1.4 trillion. That's crazy. Okay, so I'm not at all surprised that Amazon and Apple both released poor earnings. That was to be expected just because, like, fundamentally, just think about it from a common sense perspective. The economy absolutely fucking sucks right now, okay? No one's buying anything. Everyone's in that scarcity mindset. And, again, everyone's just – there's no money. There's no money. That's in the words of Mr. Dave Portnoy, who I mentioned, the Barstool founder, that we'll talk about at the end. But yeah, he said it great. There's no money. There's no money aside from what's being printed and just the artificial propping up of the markets. So I'll stop ranting on that, and we'll go to this. I just wanted to cover this just because I feel like it's very important to see how very significant and very highly regarded investors, arguably the most successful and one of the most meaningful investors of all time. Again, Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett says he hasn't made any big investments because, I quote, "we don't see anything that attractive." Okay, so if you guys have read anything on how Warren Buffett is playing this situation over the past few months, he is sitting on more cash. I think it's like $130 billion of cash right now, which is more than he's ever had and probably more than most of the huge funds and huge traders on earth have. I would bet he's sitting on more cash than almost anyone on the planet right now. Okay, so I don't have this article pulled up either, but I did read that he dumped literally his the entire airline sector of Berkshire Hathaway, because again, the world is fundamentally changed. The world's different. Airlines will never be the same. He dumped his entire basket of airline stocks, and he's sitting on more cash than ever right now, which means that he is overall bearish on the markets, and I have to assume that he thinks it's going to go lower just because this is, again, a black swan event. We don't know what's coming. When you're playing with that much capital, it is dangerous and unethical to invest it right now because you are investing on behalf of other people as well. Okay, so that said, Berkshire Hathaway also, because again, it's Warren Buffett's investment fund. They had a huge loss on earnings this year, their first loss in a very long time. So I don't blame him for playing it safe. It is almost a luxury when you think about some of the smaller investors, just retail investors like us, it's just our money on the line, right? So we have a lot more room to play risky, but people like Warren Buffett, who there's a lot of lives, like there's a lot of livelihoods at stake with what he does with his investment and how he plays his investments. Okay, so yeah, the fact that such a meaningful and such a whale in the investment landscape is playing so conservatively should definitely make you guys wary of the fact that we may see more doom and gloom to come. All right, so that said, Tesla. I've lost so much money shorting the stock over the past couple of months, to be completely honest. And I'm so glad that the reality is finally catching up to it on Friday. I had a huge day. My put options did super well on Friday, and I finally made the majority of the money that I lost back. And I think there's more to come. Okay, so Tesla crashed. Tesla, if we look at it on even like a yearly chart, look how much it's up. It went from like $220 like half a year ago up to 900, had this crash back down to this 300 level. And then it almost, like, it was pissing me off so much when this thing was about to hit, like, make new highs. That was crazy in my mind. Like, Tesla, revolutionary company. I think the long-term view on Tesla, like 5-10 years from now, will be extraordinary, and it will be worth what it's trading at today. But Tesla, is so ridiculously overvalued right now. If you look at their earnings, if you look at their future forecast, it's so ridiculously overvalued. Like, they're barely profitable, yet the stock is worth more than all automakers combined. Okay, and I've heard a lot of arguments from these Tesla moon boys, just about their tech, and they have so much, just so much more potential, to sum it up, than all these other car makers. But the reality is, they're not profitable. And they completely wiped guidance pretty much. They said they're putting future profits on hold, and that's not even what caused the stock to fall. What caused the stock to fall was Mr. Elon Musk. Again, I don't want to make you guys think I hate Tesla, and I honestly love Tesla. I think Tesla's a sick company, and again, I think they will succeed in the long term. And I think Elon Musk is the fucking man. He's a visionary. I think he's probably one of the most important people on earth. But he is sporadic, and his tweets are actually what caused Tesla to fall. So the title of this is Tesla Shifts into Reverse as Elon Musk Says Share Price is Too High Amid Wild Tweet Storm. So if you guys have seen this, Elon Musk did go on an absolute tear. During his earnings call, he was talking about how how the lockdown and the quarantine is in sense like fascism, and it's fascist for the U.S. government to be doing this. I'm not going to say if I agree or disagree with that. I will say that I think that the economy should be opened back up as soon as freaking possible. But again, I won't disagree or agree with what he said. I don't think that being someone of his stature making these tweets is ethical. He's already dealt with the SEC a couple years ago when he was tweeting about Tesla's stock price. When you're the CEO of a publicly traded company, you cannot just make tweets like this. It's literally not legal. It's not only unethical, but it's illegal. Okay, so as you can see here, this was the last tweet he made on his like little tweet storm, talking about how the quarantine and just the lockdown is completely unethical. So that's that. But right here, as you can see, Tesla's stock price is too high, in my opinion. So that sole tweet, honestly, along with these other tweets, it's not only the fact that he's speaking the truth, and it is it is objectively too high. It doesn't make sense for Tesla stock to be too high, aside from pure speculation. Aside from that, it just shows that the leader of this company is acting a little erratic, and it is unsettling as a shareholder of Tesla. When you see the head of the company you're investing in taking fucking crazy pills, you're like, oh shit, maybe this company isn't on a great trajectory, which I still think it is. I just think it's overvalued, and that is a way to rationalize the reason it fell as well. When the leader of the company you're investing in is just going on a tweet rampage and acting super emotional. All right, you don't want the leader of your company to be hyper emotional. Okay, that goes for everything in this financial investment climate. Be as rational as you possibly can at all times, and disregard emotion, put emotion to the side. Okay, so I think that not just this price, but it's also like this, just the whole rampage overall that caused Tesla stock to fall. But again, I'm glad it happened. Tesla was absolutely due. I'll go back to the charts. Tesla's absolutely due for a correction, and my money is on the fact that it will come back down to at least $400 right here. Just a few months ago. It's so crazy that it's this high. I would be genuinely surprised if Tesla doesn't come back down to at least $350 to $400 over the coming weeks. Okay, so again, that is, I do have a put option out on that. My money is on that. All right, so moving on from that, Bitcoin. Bitcoin was on fire this week. It had a great week. As you guys know, I am a Bitcoin bull. I am super bullish on Bitcoin. I think that the entire macroeconomic climate is like everything. Stars are all aligning for Bitcoin right now, especially with the halving coming up supposedly on May 11th. So it's less than 2 weeks out. Super bullish event where the amount of Bitcoin that is pumped into the circulating supply is cut in half. Imagine all the half of the gold miners on Earth shut down forever. That's the Bitcoin halving. Okay, and I do have videos about this. I'm not going to dive into why I'm bullish on Bitcoin because that's why I make the videos that I've made. So if you guys want to educate yourself further on Bitcoin, feel free to watch some of the other videos. I'm proud of those videos. I do think, I am hyper bullish on Bitcoin. The technology is great. Fundamentally, it provides, it's gold 2.0. Like, watch the video I just made about Bitcoin being gold 2.0. It's I think it'll really serve a purpose moving forward in this world, and I think it'll do really well coming up to this halving. That said, I think the halving might be like buy the hype, sell the news kind of event. So on the day of the actual halving, I wouldn't be surprised to see it fall. But from what I've been seeing online, almost everybody thinks that. So if there's one thing I've learned, you guys, in my investment career so far, it's that when the market zigs, you zag. So the fact that I'm seeing so many people saying, oh, sell the news on the Bitcoin halving makes me think that it'll probably just flush out all the people who are thinking that and continue to shoot higher. So that is because I'm also like financially biased that it will move higher. I might be thinking that, but again, I've been seeing a lot of people say that it will sell off on the day of the halving. And usually when the majority are saying that, it will do the opposite. Again, market zigs, you zag. Remember that in every aspect of the markets. Not just Bitcoin, literally every stock and every asset that you're following. Okay, so we'll close it off there. I think Bitcoin is gonna move up to at least a few $1,000s over the coming month. I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. I do a lot more Bitcoin updates and stuff. If you guys are interested, it's weird. I took a poll recently on the YouTube little poll feature you can do, and like 95% of you aren't invested in Bitcoin, which is interesting. Again, I'm not trying to push Bitcoin on you guys in any sense, but I do encourage you to look into it a little more and really do some research because it is a super promising technology and just like fundamentally a very revolutionary asset. So I do encourage you guys to look more into Bitcoin if you're not quite as educated in it, because again, I think the more you learn about it, the more compelled you will be to potentially invest in it. All right, so we'll close it out there. We'll get into the content of the week. This is a CNBC YouTube video, so you can just look this up. Barstool Sports founder asks fast money traders for investment help. All right, so this is Dave Portnoy. This video is great, super funny. Just if you're not familiar with him and want a brief introduction to him, but what I really want to suggest is following him on Instagram and watching his IG lives or his just his Instagram stories. So he's been doing this thing over the course of quarantine, where he calls himself Davey Day Trader, and it's pretty much just him losing a shit ton of money trying to short stocks over this dead cat bounce that's been happening. So like he's been trying to short Boeing for the entirety of the time that it's bounced back up. So it's just so funny following him. He recently sold Barstool. I'm sure a lot of you guys aren't familiar, but if you are, great. If not, he sold his company Barstool Sports to a gambling company for like a few $100 million. So he's just sitting on a shitload of cash, and he's just been Robinhood Options Trading. So when you're that new to it, it is purely gambling, but it's so funny just to watch him navigate these markets. He's playing the social game so well, but the market game so poorly. But it's hilarious. He's a good sport about it. I highly recommend following him on IG and watching this video too. All right, and then a little more serious. This is a podcast with Jack Dorsey. It is, again, the AI podcast with Lex Friedman. So you guys can just look that up. Jack Dorsey, if you're unfamiliar, founder of Twitter and Square Cash App. He's the CEO of all the above. Very accomplished individual. But in it, he talks about this kind of circles back to Bitcoin. They talk about a lot more than Bitcoin, but just like the entire economy as a whole. And Jack Dorsey honestly kind of falls in the same camp as Elon Musk, in the sense that he's probably one of the in terms of evolving the technological space, and honestly just like the species as a whole, Jack Dorsey is playing a very important role in my mind in that. So again, super interesting dude. Pretty weird. He's definitely not as likable as Dave Portnoy, but super interesting dude. It's cool to get takes like that from people who've accomplished so much and will accomplish so much moving forward. So yeah, again, he talks about crypto, as you can see here, Square Crypto, AI. It's super interesting. So check that out if you're interested at all. And that is how we will conclude this content of the week and this edition of Waves Weekly. So again, if you guys dug it, please like and subscribe. As always, check out the description down below. There's a lot of ways that you can support the channel and help yourself down there. So I appreciate it if you check that out. If not, no worries. And yeah, we'll just cut it there. Leave comments for what you think about any of this. What do you think about Moderna, Inovio, Bitcoin? Always love talking shop with you guys. So please feel free to drop a comment down below. And yeah, until next time, guys. Remember, make waves in this markets. Until next time, peace. Later, Gators.